Welcome to Beacon Radio with your host, Steve Teel. Beacon Radio, delivering hope, inspiration, and change. For more information about the Beacon, log on to sabeacon.com. And now, with this week's Beacon Radio, here's your host, Steve Teel.
I am Steve Teel. It is great to be with you. I love it. Every Saturday, noon, we get to talk with difference makers, and each one is very special to me. Today, you do not want to miss. You do not want to miss. We are going to talk to Candice Curry. She has written a book. She has lived a life. And I'm telling you, when you go to the movies and you see movies that Hollywood screenwriters come up with and you're like, oh, that would never happen. Well, when you read her story, it is true. It is incredible. The ups and the downs, a lot of downs to get to redemption of God calling her by name and her finally learning that there is a Heavenly Father who cares about her when she has, through her life, been trying to get the approval of her con man dad. And it's an incredible story. Candice Curry has written this book, The Con Man's Daughter. She's going to be with us today, and we're going to hear about some of those stories. And as you hear them, you're just going to want to be sure to get The Con Man's Daughter. So I'm really excited for you to get to know Candice Curry and to hear some of the story. If we don't get to all of it today, then next week I want to talk to Candice Curry more because there's just so much to this story, and I don't want you to miss it. I am your host, Steve Teel. You can send me an email, steve@sabeacon.com. As you're going to be blessed and encouraged, I want to hear from you, steve@sabeacon.com. Beacon Radio is a part of the Beacon newspaper, and it is just such an encouragement to be with you every Saturday talking to difference makers. Right after this break, we'll be back with the Con Man's Daughter, Candice Curry.
God loves to include us in what He's doing. In fact, every day with God is kind of like take your kid to work day. He just loves to do things with us. I want to share with you a simple way to position your life so that God can include you. It's called Prayer, Care, Share. It's simple, and here's how you do it. You first begin to pray consistently for 4 or 5 people in your life. Just bring their names before the Lord and ask Him to include you in blessing them. Then look for ways to care genuinely for their needs, just ways to make their day better and to add value to their lives. When you consistently pray and care for people, almost 100% of the time, God will create an opportunity for you to share something of His love and encouragement with that person. It'll be powerful, it'll be personal, and it will be natural for you. So let's start praying and caring and sharing and watch God include us. Hey, this is Pastor Kirk Freeman. Check out our website at crossbridgecommunitychurch.com.
Steve Teel, Beacon Radio here, delivering hope, inspiration, and change. And I am excited. We are talking to Candice Curry. Candice, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks. I'm excited.
Yeah, I am too. So here's the deal, listeners. I want to make sure you'll know this. This is what we're talking about. Candice has just released a book through Baker Books. This is a legitimate thing. This is The Con Man's Daughter, a story of lies, desperation, and finding God. And I have read 150 of the 200 pages, and I felt like God said, okay, stop. So there is so much in this incredible book. It really is. She talks about on her website. Her website is CandiceCurry.com. I want to say a few more things, and then we'll get Candice going here. So you may also know her from, she's been featured on the Today Show and Good Morning America. Back in 2014, she wrote an open letter to my daughter's stepmom, and it went viral, right?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was so weird. But yes, it went viral because it's about blended families, and that's so predominant now. So right. I think it just hit a chord.
Yeah.
Like at the perfect storm and went kind of crazy.
That's cool. So that was neat. That may just be familiar to you. You can also, of course, find that online. And then she's been writing for the Huffington Post and for Every Mom, as well as Alamo City Mom's blog. And like I said, the book just came out. The Con Man's Daughter. You are going to want to get a copy, and it is going to bless you. And today you're going to hear some of her story, and it's going to make you want to be sure to get the book. So, Candice, you are the Con Man's Daughter. Tell us what that means. Tell us where that comes from.
Well, my dad was a true con man, like the kind you see on Dateline or 2020. You know, when you watch those shows, you're like, what? Those people exist? Well, they do exist, and they have kids, and I'm the kids. He has, there's 5 of us. I have 3 brothers and a sister, and we just grew up thinking it was normal. And we knew there was something a little off, you know, because he wasn't getting up and going to work and that normal 9 to 5, and all of our friends kind of had the super normal thing going on.
Yeah.
So we knew that he did something different. We just didn't know that it was completely illegal and shady, and you know, there was like cloak and dagger kind of stuff going on. We didn't get it until I guess maybe 10, 12 is when people started showing up at our door.
Okay.
And kind of like hints started coming in. FBI would come to our door, or people looking for him to pay up, or whatever it was. And then we started driving stolen cars when we started realizing they were stolen and living in stolen houses.
And these are like really nice cars.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah. I think it was my junior year. For my birthday, he gave me a brand new Toyota 4x4 truck that, you know, anybody in our school would have died for. I just thought it was so cool, and it lasted 2 weeks because he had test drove it off the lot and handed it to me for my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yes, thanks, Dad. Thanks for the 2-week stolen gift. But that was constant forever. My mom actually was arrested and booked for grand theft because he did this to her and put it in her name. He had like written a check that had no bank account attached. In her name.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So she was at work, and they showed up at her work, and she's a registered nurse, so it's serious business. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Which it's been cleared up, and my mom would not steal gum from the convenience store. You know, it's been cleared up. But yeah, it was like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And we kind of didn't blink an eye at it, which is weird. We're like, oh, okay, the car's stolen. We'll just take it back. So weird.
All right, so going back, like when you were younger, I think, I read in the book that, you know, it's one of those days at school where you get to stand up and tell what your parents do for a job or whatever. So how did that go for you, Candice?
Not great. I mean, it went great for me, I thought, but probably not for my mom. We were so excited, and I don't think they do that in this
probably
day and age, where you stand
not.
up and go, what does your dad do for a living? I don't even know why that would be an exercise in school, but we did, and I was pumped up. Like, I am going to tell them what my dad does, and they're all going to be jealous, you know?
Yeah.
And so it was my turn, and I stood up, and I straightened myself out, and I said, my dad's a bookie. And the room just, you know, the kids didn't know, but the teacher's like, oh, her face kind of melted a little bit, like, okay, Candice, well, thank you. Go ahead and have a seat. And I can't imagine what the teacher lunch room was like. Like, oh,
right.
Guess what Candice's dad does? I didn't know what a bookie meant. I thought he kept books for like, I thought he was like an accountant, and it was nicknamed Bookie. Right. So yeah, that didn't go well. My mom got a call, or I don't know if they called her when she came to pick us up. They're like, excuse me, Miss Snell, we need to have a word. So we got explained that Dad is not a bookie. I don't even know what they explained, but after that, I thought he was a lawyer.
A lawyer.
So, yeah, I just went with that.
Yeah, that's a safe one.
Yes, it seemed much safer than Bookie.
All right, so you were Daddy's little girl up to a certain point when you realized, okay, this is shady, this is strange, this is not normal, but you were Daddy's little girl.
Oh, yeah. I thought he hung the moon. I mean, I just thought he was a giant and the strongest man alive and smart, and he was extremely charismatic. So you were just totally drawn to him, which was part of his game, you know, which made it easy for him. And being handsome made it easy. And he just was magnetic. And so I was in awe of him. And I honestly think I was Daddy's little girl for much longer than I admitted, because I was still so desperate forever, you know. He didn't treat me like Daddy's little girl, but my desperation kind of it twisted the definition of Daddy's little girl, I guess. But yeah, until late middle school, maybe like my early teen years, I adored him. Yeah. Until I started realizing, and it really started affecting me. I guess as little kids it didn't affect us because we were just, you know, running around the neighborhood or what have you, you know, not getting into adult stuff. But when we started to become little adults, and the gifts, and I don't mean this materialistically, but the gifts he would give were taken away, and then we're like, wait, what's going on here, you know? Yeah. And then the people started showing up, and he would forget us at school, and I mean, all sorts of stuff. We started to realize that something was not right.
Right. So that desperation that you're talking about, I mean, that dad stuff is so big that, I mean, it stays with you.
No, I don't think it ever goes away.
Yeah.
Ever. I mean, he died when I was 36, and I don't think it ever went away. I think I could control it and not let it affect my life and my children, but I still wanted my dad.
Right.
I mean, who wouldn't, you know?
Right.
So up until his death, we had no relationship whatsoever. But still in the back of my head, I would think, well, when he gets too tired and too old to keep up this game, then we can be a part of each other's life. Or when he's physically unable to take care of himself, I'll move him in and I'll take care of him, you know,
right.
and that's where it'll be redeemed. And so there was always desperation for him to be in my life, but he couldn't. I couldn't let him because I had children.
Right,
yeah.
Right. Okay, so the story goes on, and again, we're talking to Candice Curry. This book, The Con Man's Daughter, is amazing. It's a story of lies, desperation, and finding God. You can get a hold of it anywhere, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, wherever, CandiceCurry.com also. You talk about on your website that one of your dreams is to be in a Lifetime movie at some point.
Yes.
I love that.
Just because they're so weird and I love them. Like, we record them. Like, one lady got stuck in a foolproof car. Her kid was locked in the car. I don't know. They just, you know, the cat gets possessed and joins a cult, and they're so weird. So I'm like, yes.
Yes.
I just want to, I don't care. Put me in a background. I just want to, like,
you would take a cameo.
Yes.
All right. So, I mean, your story could easily, I mean, this is a true story.
Yes.
This could easily be a Lifetime movie. This could easily be a movie that we go see in the theaters. It's an incredible story.
It's wild.
Yeah, it's wild. Okay. So, you're growing up. You don't maybe realize you have kind of this strange kind of existence. And at one point, your mom and dad, they either separate or divorce, and you have a choice. Who do you go with, and how did you decide?
Well, we went with the cool parent, you know, and my dad was the cool parent. And at 13 and 15, when he described where he would be moving and where she would be moving, he painted this grand picture, and it was grand. Where he moved was grand. It was this 6-bedroom house, 2 different upstairs, a black bottom pool. It was amazing. And my mom was moving into a 1-bedroom apartment behind a fast food restaurant because my mom worked.
Right.
My mom is like the hardest working person ever. I think you would have to cut off an arm for her to call in sick, honestly.
Yeah,
She just... Yeah. Crazy work ethic. And so this is what she could afford, you know, and for some reason we were moving into this insane house that I don't even know who can afford. But so, you know, the promise of summers out by the pool, we're like, heck yeah, we're going with Dad.
Yeah.
And we did. And it was a pretty tragic error in our judgment. But we were 13 and 15.
Right.
You know, how do you don't make all the greatest decisions at that age, you know? And so, yeah, we moved in with him.
Okay, and there's one point, very dramatic. I mean, the whole thing is dramatic, and it's interesting because I know you're hilarious. I mean, I know you're funny, but this book, of course, I mean, it's pretty serious stuff.
Sure.
And so around that time, I mean, your dad, I think he just kind of, you wake up one morning.
Gone.
He's gone. Can you tell us about that a little bit?
I guess we were used to him, like, not coming home overnight, or he was sporadic. He had a drug abuse problem, and we knew that. And so there would be periods of him being gone or what have you. We woke up on a particular morning during the summer, and he was gone without any warning, anything. And so it was just my brother and I there at the house by ourselves. And so for some reason at that time, we kind of knew that he wasn't coming home.
Okay.
I don't know what it was about. I can't remember, you know, the little details. But we woke up and he wasn't there. And back then we didn't have cell phones.
Right.
And they just had pagers and a home phone, one home phone in the house, which is so odd. What is he, you know, it was mounted on the wall. And so we paged him, and we had a code, which was our birthday. And then our year. Well, I was 13 at the time, so my code would be 13. And then we would do 911 if it was an emergency. And so we got in his room and we started paging and no return. And we did that all day long. Paged him, 911.
Wow.
I don't know why we didn't call my mother. I think we never told my mother out of fear that it was more on my mother. You know,
okay.
We weren't afraid of her. We just didn't want her to had more on her plate than she already did. So
wow.
we kind of spared her quite often,
okay.
you know.
Because you knew, just as your mom who loves and cares about you, if she knew all this stuff.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, and a heartbeat saving us.
Yeah.
But we just, and our dad had taught us to lie. I mean, we'd grown up that way. He would tell us to lie to everybody. People at school, the office, anybody showed up at the door, we were taught to lie. And so that's what we did. And so that night came and he still wasn't there. And the next day, same routine, still wasn't there. And I could say it was 2 weeks or 10 days. I couldn't honestly tell you.
Yeah.
We say 2 weeks because that's, I think, what it was.
Right.
It was a good amount of days, a good chunk of days. And we were left there. He never came home, never called, nothing. And we couldn't drive. And we lived out of our school district, out of our area where our friends lived. It's not like we could walk, to a friend's house. And he left with a turkey, a large turkey that we had made a couple weeks before, or a couple days before, and boxes of Pop-Tarts.
Yeah.
And that is it. And so, this is so gross. We would take that turkey in the heat of Texas summer and set it by the pool and swim and just pick off the turkey all day. And at night, we would put that turkey back in the fridge. Gross. Next day, get it back out. And we picked off that turkey for the whole time.
Yeah.
I don't know how our stomachs survived. And then in the morning, we would just open some Pop-Tarts and eat Pop-Tarts. And so that went on for 10-ish days. And we called them the turkey Pop-Tart sandwich days. Just to kind of twist humor into it, because you got to.
Yeah.
And so we always, turkey Pop-Tart sandwich days.
Yeah.
He eventually walked in the door randomly and never explained where he was. And we never asked because you just didn't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
So he shows up with some food for you.
Yes. And I didn't realize this part of the book was going to hit my friends so hard. I didn't. I guess I'm naive that way. But when he showed up at the door, he had bags of Whataburger, which, if you're from San Antonio, that's like a steak, Yeah. And so he walked in with Whataburger and we're like, hallelujah. It was like manna had just dropped from heaven. We're like, heck yes. And we opened it. We had a Great Dane dog and, 140 pounds.
That's huge.
Huge dog. And my brother, who had not shed a tear this whole time, had not said he was scared. He just kind of manned up and was big brother for me.
Yeah.
He unwrapped his cheeseburger and that dog walked by and took the whole cheeseburger in one bite. The whole thing, gone. And my brother sobbed.
For the first time.
For the first time.
Yeah.
And it was not even about that cheeseburger. It was just about
oh, man.
Dad, you left us here. I had to protect my sister. We ate off a turkey, and then the dog comes and steals his meal,
Right.
But I didn't share mine. I wasn't like, here, have mine. I was like, oh, that stinks. And I kind of pulled mine further away. But yeah, that was the first time I saw him very emotional, very caved to it, and made him very reachable to me because I thought my brother was the same way. Your big brother's just he was high up on my my list. He was amazing, and so it was the first time I saw him in a moment of vulnerability.
Right.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy
because he was a rock. I mean, so the timeline of when there's a certain time when your dad and your mom are fighting. Mm-hmm. So is that before then, or do they get back together?
They did get back together, and that was before. They had divorced early middle school for me, maybe 11, 12, I'm not real sure.
Yeah.
And in that time, he had come home high and drunk, and I'm not real sure on what, but he, bust in the door screaming and yelling at my mom, and I ran into my brother's room, super small house, and he hid me behind him and got a gun, because I guess we hunted, and I don't know why we had guns in the house. I have no idea. But for some reason, my brother had a pistol in his room at 13, 14.
Yeah.
And he hid me behind him and cracked his door and pointed the gun at my dad and told me, I'm going to shoot Dad if he touches Mom. Because he had never been physical with us. And this was the one moment that I think we thought things might be escalated to a different level.
Yeah.
And we were scared. And I just said, okay,
Because your brother kind of asked permission, I think, right?
Yeah,
Is that okay,
I think it was the warning or permission. I'm not real sure. I think he was letting me know his intent.
Yeah.
And I didn't bat an eye at it. I didn't say no. I didn't say, wait, hold on, nothing.
Yeah.
I just trusted my brother, and whatever he said,
right.
I okayed. I just said okay and followed him.
Right.
And thank God he did not pull that trigger, because I have no idea who knows what his aim was, if it would have been on my mom, my dad, if it just hit the wall and my dad freaked out even more. I have no idea.
Right. Yeah.
But by the grace of God, he did not pull that trigger.
Yeah.
And so, so I'd seen my brother's strength.
Yeah.
And boldness. And so when the dog took his hamburger and he cried, it was like, you didn't cry over going
right.
to shoot dad or whatever, and then you cried because your Whataburger was gone. So,
right.
gosh, shout out to Whataburger, right? That's a good burger. You got people crying over your burgers.
Candice. All right, hey, we're talking to Candice Curry. She's written this incredible book. It's completely true. The Con Man's Daughter, Story of Lies, Desperation, and Finding God. And we're going to continue to talk to Candice. You can go to CandiceCurry.com. I want to know what happens next. I want to know, you start to break away from your dad and mm-hmm. try to push him out of your life. So I want to talk about that. And then part of the theme of the book, one of the themes is there a God? And I mean, he can't care about me. He cares about other people. Mm-hmm. And does God even know my name? And so we're going to talk about that as well. Can you, we're going to go to a break in about 4 minutes, but can you tell us kind of what happens next in the journey? I mean, how you start pushing your dad away?
I think my turning point was when I had my first daughter. I think in high school it was still a tug of war. I would kind of want him and then push him away.
Okay.
And I would have kept him at that distance forever. But when I had my daughter is when I knew that I couldn't let in her life what was in mine as far as he was concerned. And so that's when I really put the stop sign up, and wouldn't let him near us anymore.
Okay. During that time leading up, I know it had to be very painful both for him and for you. I remember in the book there was like kind of for your spring show, daddy-daughter dance or something like that. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was my senior year, and our school has a tradition of the father-daughter dance. And you dance with your dad. It's the last dance of the whole program. They do it 2 days in a row so that if you have to work that day, you can go the next day or what have you. And I just did not want this day coming because we were talking if he accidentally got a hold of me. That kind of talk. I wasn't going to lunch with him or anything. And at that time, my mom had started dating someone, amazing, amazing man, who would soon become my stepdad.
Okay.
But he filled in for me for that father-daughter dance. And I had lied to my dad and said that they weren't doing it that year, which I knew he knew that they were,
Okay.
And so my stepdad, bless his 2 feet, came in and danced with me.
Does he have left feet like me, Candice?
Yes,
is that what you're telling me?
He does. We survived, though. But I don't want to give away that part because that's one of the sweetest parts in the book. It's I guess, bittersweet. It was very sweet as far as my relationship with my stepdad. Very bittersweet with my relationship with my dad. Because I think it was a huge turning point for us that my stepdad, who was not my stepdad at the time, it was just my mom's boyfriend, filled in and came in front of everybody took, cut into the dance, I guess. Yeah. And I accepted. And my dad was hiding at the school. He had snuck in and hid in the balcony and watched this dance. And so I kind of enjoyed that he was there because I kind of wanted to, stick it to him. And then it broke my heart because it was kind of over, you know?
Yeah, okay. And there's, I don't want to give away what you don't want to give away. So.
No.
The book, I mean, if you're hearing the story, I mean, we're not going to hit on everything. You're going to hear the story. You want to get the book. You've got to get the book. It's The Con Man's Daughter. And what I will say, without giving away, if Candice wants to tell us after, we're going to go to our halftime break in just a minute. If she wants to tell you when we come back, she can. But there's a part in the book having to do with the dance where I am just, and it has to do with your future stepdad, and for just a minute I have to put the book down. I'm kind of devastated, and then fortunately that turns into something very redeeming and beautiful. But I was like, no, you've got to be kidding me. This girl's had such a hard life, and then it looks like it's just going to be hard. So we'll give Candice the option, but you've got a few minutes during our halftime break. The Con Man's Daughter. Go to CandiceCurry.com and go ahead and get a hold of your copy if you don't have it already. But we're going to come back after the break and talk more with Candice. I'm Steve Teel. This is Beacon Radio, delivering hope. Lots of it in this book. It's coming. inspiration, and change. Incredible story. She's an incredible miracle, and we'll be back with Candice Curry.
Beacon Radio is a part of the San Antonio Beacon newspaper and website, sabeacon.com. The Beacon has been serving San Antonio and surrounding communities for over 15 years, bringing hope, inspiration, and change. Go to sabeacon.com for stories and radio interviews with Shaq author William Paul Young, hockey star Rocco Grimaldi, American Ninja Warrior Daniel Gill, Duck Dynasty's Sadie Robertson, singer Carrie Job, and author Lara Casey, plus so many more. Log on now at sabeacon.com.
Friends, I am spoiled at our church, Momentum Bible Church. Our awesome worship leader, John David Cornwell, is gifted at taking us into the presence of God to experience power and love. John's team, including Thad, Kira, David, Benji, and Eli, all do a great job leading us. I invite you to join us tomorrow, 10 a.m., #spoiled.
MBC meets 10 a.m. Sundays in far north San Antonio near Johnson High School at Cibolo Green Elementary School. MomentumBibleChurch.com has directions and information.